Thank you all for coming out. On behalf of the Plainfield Division of Parks and Recreation in the City of Plainfield, I'd like to welcome you to our first section, Introduction to Community Gardening. We're going to roll out two community gardens this year, one on Berkeley Terrace and one on Brookside Avenue, and we're super excited. As part of our partners, we received a grant from the state of New Jersey. As part of the grant, we provide a number of training sessions so we can ensure everyone's success in the community garden. So one of our partners, Brown Elizabeth, they're here, is Adrian Miller Kovich to help us, and she'll be our trainer for the next coming session. So I'm going to introduce Adrian. She's going to take it over. Thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate your support. And here's to digging in, getting dirty in our community gardens.
Thank you. My name is Adrian Kovich, and I work at Groundwork Elizabeth. We've been lucky enough to partner with the City of Plainfield Parks and Recs to start up 2 community gardens. I kind of need to explain what Groundwork's role is and how we are going to help you guys. We've been building community gardens in Union County for the last 10 years, and we're all over the county. We have over 200 gardens that we've helped build. We're going to help you guys build this one. We actually built one on in Richmond Towers. We helped that garden. There's one in Grace Church, Presbyterian Church, I think. And so we're all over the county, and what we do is provide garden support. We actually build the garden. This year, we're changing all the wooden beds out to metal beds, because metal beds are much more sustainable than the wood. After 5 years, the wooden ones started to rot, so we're replacing them now with metal ones. So both of your gardens have been set up with metal beds. The Berkeley garden has Berkeley Terrace garden has 22 beds that are all metal beds, and actually there's 8 that are wooden beds, 2 by 10s. The other ones are metal beds, and they're 3 by 8. There's 2 that are 3 by 6. So you've got quite a lot to choose from over there. Everything is irrigated. Irrigation systems have been put in place. So once we get people set up to run the gardens, someone will have to go and turn the irrigation system on and turn it off. But that's further down the road. This first initial meeting is kind of gets you guys interested and set up and to be able to sign people up for a garden bed. I'm not sure how we want to work it yet. If there's fees involved that are going to be charged to lease the bed for the summer. Typically, I started the garden in Union Township. I started it in 2015, and it's still going, and it has a waiting list. So community gardening is really the big thing now. To grow your own food, to know where it comes from is really important. And especially with COVID happening, people just swarmed to get outside and get into growing your own food. So it's very exciting. There's a couple rules and regulations that I kind of set up when I started the community garden in Union. That as I'm setting up other gardens, I kind of give you the guidelines to go by and what not to grow and what to grow. Being that you have a 4 by 8 or 3 by 8 garden bed, and the next bed is 3 feet away, you don't want to grow corn because you're going to shade that person's sunlight the next garden bed. So corn is a no-no. Unless you have the back corner, that's not going to shade anybody. What else? We're kind of need some champion gardeners. Has anybody here gardened before? What you're doing? Yeah? Okay. We need some champion gardeners to run each champion.
It's trial and error.
So we're looking for some champion gardeners to run each location as a separate entity. The Park and Recreation Department is gonna be bringing out kids to help move soil, to help put chips, however you want. So you kind of have some free labor going on, which is good to know.
I'm not, I couldn't be paid.
Oh, I'm sorry. Free labor for the community garden, but you're being paid.
Right, we'll make it part of our workforce development program, so children will have the opportunity to learn these skills as far as a stewardship program, but we always pay our youth, and that's important. But the champion project, or the champions, are very important because we need help with community outreach. And if someone's not in charge, they tend to not be tended to. So we need people to show up and just make sure everything's okay, and invite other people and encourage your family and friends to join us. And just, whenever I need folks showing up at meetings saying, hey, I need the champions to come out and say, this is a vital, important service to our community, and how much we can support the community through gardening and connecting people to nature. It's a good physical activity as well as supporting mental health. And it's also part of our environmental justice initiative. Having access to fresh food should not depend on what zip code you live in. We want to make sure that people in our community have access to clean running water, to fresh food that they can grow and have access to without, and being affordable and or free. So this is why we're rolling this out, and we need the champions who, would be the people at the forefront and make a commitment to help steward these particular gardens. We work around your schedule. There would be a stipend involved, just something small, because I know a lot of retirees don't want to do too much, just a little bit. We will work around your cruise vacations and your family reunions. So later on, I'm going to chat you up about if you consider giving us an hour or two, or if you would choose one of the gardens where you would primarily might want to work, and then we'll go from there. So you'll hear that as a constant theme throughout all the training sessions. This is really just an introduction, but I'm putting it out there now that we're looking for people to help us, because we'll not be successful. You'll go to a lot of towns and you'll see empty lots that were once community gardens. It's because they didn't have any champions there or people who took ownership of it. It can't just be Parks and Recreation, the city saying, hey, we want a garden here, but the community doesn't want it, community doesn't want it. So we need to make sure this is something we want and will support, and, tweak it as the community needs. But, we want to make sure that our folks too have access to fresh foods and opportunities for our kids to learn things. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
So around here, we have 3 master gardeners on the staff to answer any kind of questions that you may have growing whatever you're growing. We also provide seedlings. We're located in Elizabeth. We have a 30 by 40 foot greenhouse that we start seedlings as early as February. And we have pumped out of there 15,000 plants that we distribute to all the community gardens in Union County. So that comes as a free service. We will supply you with that's. I guess I need some clarifications. You're saying. Okay.
When you speak about the community gardens, are you speaking of this is going to be our garden, or this is going to be have access? The community will have access to it, and if the community is going to have access to it, in what ways is it going to have access to it?
Okay. All right. I'll back up a little bit. So in your 2 community gardens, there's one garden with 14 beds and 2 smaller beds. As a community garden, you're going to be leasing each bed to an individual in the community, a resident in the community. $10 for the season. You're in Ms. Campbell? Caldwell. Ms. Caldwell is going to be leasing the 3 by 8 bed from you, as you're going to be the one running the garden. She's going to give you $10 for the whole season. That's going to include the seedlings, get the seedlings, the water, and you're gonna have to go maintain and garden and work it. That $10 will cover your purchase of a shovel. That's gonna be a community shovel that anybody that is in the garden will be able to use the shovel. Okay, so we're gonna be providing, you can plant whatever you want in the bed, unless it's corn. You can, but you're gonna be growing, and you're gonna be harvesting, and you're gonna be, that's your bed. In my community garden in Union, I have a couple beds that are community beds. I grow one 8x3 bed with garlic. And then when garlic is ready to be harvested, I distribute it to all the members that's their own beds. Because gardens are weird, or garlic is a weird vegetable that you plant in the fall and you harvest in July of next year. So instead of taking all that bed space up in your bed, it's going to be in a community bed that, will all be planted garlic.
So if I can, Ms. McKenzie, so when we mean by community garden, it will be space that people can come into. So it's the first time we found research shows that if people don't have some small monetary buy-in, $5 or $10 per bed, that's when community gardens aren't successful. So it's our first year of rolling it out. We will through ordinance, because you can't, in the city of Plainfield, you can't charge anything unless you have an ordinance. So we currently don't have an existing ordinance. I will roll out an ordinance. We'll probably charge $5 to $10 per bed, but that's not going to prohibit anybody who says, hey, I'd like to do a community garden, but I just don't have it. They still will go through the process and the fee will be waived for them. There'll be a process for that. But we found that when we provide free programming, it's just not the same buy-in. So there will be community activities for people who aren't members of that garden. And say, for example, you want to do most of your work at Brookside Avenue. You're a member of the Brookside Community Garden. We will have some public activities there for general education, irrigation, when to plant during what produce or what plants to plant during certain season. For the community, they come in, we might do an education session, but the members of that garden, they will have the beds and so forth. If there's an extra one or two, that no one signed up or leased out for the year, then that will be open for, say, if somebody just shows up and maybe we'll get the daycare center. King's Daughters is around the corner, so I'm in discussion with them, like, hey, and they have one at their site, but maybe they'll bring the kids around per trip, or maybe we'll just do something general for the public good. Now you put extra tomatoes there, and that goes to Richmond Towers and or Towers West. That's what we mean by community, but we have to have some buy-in and some ownership. But the financial membership will not be a barrier to anyone. It never is in Parks and Recreation. People just have to show an interest. We found that when we provide food programming, whether it be trips, movies, or dinners, people sign up and they just don't show up all the time.
So the master gardener will be the program director kind of type of thing in each community garden?
Well, we're going to bring in services. Master gardeners are provided through Rutgers Co-op right there in Westfield. So we're going to ask them to come down. But what happened is the gardener, this is how we're envisioning it and working it out. People will sign up. Say you choose Brookside or you choose Berkeley Terrace. We will have master gardeners come in and be there to consult with you. Like I'm somebody.
You're also going to have once a month, I'm going to
Me.
come back, we're going to do classes. There's a
Right.
class calendar on that table at the end. That I want to see. Yes, come up here.
I don't want to be seen. I'm fine right here. So as we work it out, and then as we find we have leaders in our community who have these skills, who are willing to be these kinds of champions, we'll lean less on other folks and more on the people we have here. You know, it's about growing. You know, some people, oh, I'm going to show up and see what it's about. And then they up their commitment when they're like, oh, I can do this. Because we want to be overwhelming to anybody. Because, you know, when you overwork people, they don't come back. When it's too much, they don't come back. So we want to provide the resources so we develop the knowledge and the skill set within our community so that people in our community will do this. But we're providing the resources. I'm somebody who just wants to grow sunflowers. I think they're pretty. I want to have a sunflower bed so that people can come take pictures. That's what I'm interested in. It's not feeding anybody but the birds, but there's reasons when you should do that, how you should do that, and where you should do those kinds of things. And that's what the experts will tell us. You know, somebody wants to grow collard greens, you can't grow that in the middle of the summer. You gotta wait, you know, so those are kinds of things that people will come and provide resources. And the body will tell us. You will tell us what you want. Hey, you know, I'm really interested in soil testing. This is fine, but I want to, you know, can I get some resources for my house? I want to expand the garden at my house. Or maybe we'll do a project with container gardens with the seniors and or folks. We have so many apartments here. People can garden in apartments. Maybe the group would be interested in reaching out to those folks and starting that kind of project. So it really will come from the community, but we're bringing outside resources in so that everyone's successful. Nothing like signing up for something and not having a good experience. People just won't come back.
Question, sorry. So let me understand this a little better. So say, okay, so if you have a plot, say, just throwing out a number, $5 for your allocation for that plot. Now, when you say that plot that you're paying $5 or $10, whatever the price is that plot specified for that person that paid that $5 or $10?
It's
Like
your
they
plot.
But they just can't come.
It's your plot. You cannot harvest your next door neighbor's tomatoes. That's illegal.
Okay, this one.
Anything that you have your 3x8 bed, and everything in there is yours.
Okay.
Your neighbor, who's also paid $5, has better tomatoes than you, but you can't.
Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure you understand that.
You're the one that's gonna be working the garden, it's all you.
And the other question is the process you have, is it in, like it's fenced in, or is it just anybody just can walk up to it and just pull stuff out? Like, how is that?
The one on
Currently, they're both fenced in. So there is 6-foot fencing on Brookside already with a gate and a lock. The temporary fencing is the one on Berkeley Terrace. And I have to, so moving forward, once we get an approved budget, and then what will happen is I will put fencing there. But anyone who's going by either sites knows that that site is much larger. So that will be more expensive. So I'll have to do it in stages. So right now we do the orange temporary, right there. That's why we're gonna have staff there. It's important. And I think you find that in on Berkeley Terrace, the neighbors there are very good partners. If they see anybody pull up, they call in the office. Tell them, you know they're digging over here, did you know this, did you know that? So they're good about keeping an eye out. So but because we haven't had problems in the past, doesn't mean that we won't plan for them. Because as we grow the garden and those tomatoes looking good, I would imagine somebody might think, but what I'm envisioning too is that we're always gonna have a table out there for the community. I can only eat with so many tomatoes. It's been my experience with gardeners that they're very giving, generous people. This is for me. I will do this for the community. So we're gonna have a community table. So maybe that will cut down on some of that. Other than kids going through and doing what kids do, the adults I've found have been very respectful. We leave some out for them, they're good. Yes, sir. Reverend Thomas.
Yeah, thank you. The youth center had a city several years ago on Lee Place.
Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I believe Councilwoman.
Very great.
Right, she ran it. So Lee Place, we're supposed to be raised beds. We have to make them raised beds because it's the former spot of a business. If the daycare center, if the center is interested in going back to that spot or doing something in your site, I'd be more than glad. We just have not activated that spot because there was no interest there. We have Brookside Place because I got a call from one of the residents. Whenever you call Parks and Recreation, you want to do something, we're on it. I got a call from there, and we had it was a tree farm on Berkeley Terrace. I don't know if you all know that. Years ago, that was a tree farm, and they would they would grow the trees there for transplant in other places. And then that went by the wayside because of the deer, and they didn't fence it in. But we will revisit that. I'll have the soil testing done. I know there's water installed at that site. So if that's a more convenient site for the daycare center, we're more than willing to work with you on that. I think the soil would have to be tested again, and we have to I know that the beds would have to be raised. And that's the other issue. When you go by either site now, you will not see the handicap accessible beds. We will install those because we want to make sure everything's wheelchair accessible. And for some of our active older adults who may have some issues bending and stooping, we want to make sure that they're high enough so that everyone of all abilities will be able to use these gardens.
but I'll make a note to follow up and give me like a week and I'll send it to you. All right.
The other part that I installed in, when I put in community garden was I asked each member to contribute 4 hours a season of their time to come and do the community activities that need to be done, like mowing the lawn, mowing in between, weed whacking in between the beds, just general maintenance of your garden, which is also, and that's kind of, when you sign up to become a member, I kind of included that as a mandatory request. That way, one person is not doing everything. Everybody's, it makes it more of a community too, community activity. What else? I had my garden, I had a combination lock on it, because other people that didn't know it was a community garden and didn't know how community gardens work would just go in and help themselves to, you know, after you've slaved over this red tomato that's been on the vine, and then all of a sudden it's gone. So I had a combination lock on the one in Union, and only the members knew the combination, and it really worked out very well.
We haven't decided what we're gonna do just yet.
Yeah, but it's open to, you're not established yet. There's
Yeah.
that kind of things up in the air, and that's why we need the garden champions to help determine what's gonna work for your community and for that garden.
We'll figure that part out as we get closer to, and we're flexible. You know, you have staff from DPW and Plainfield Division of Parks and Recreation. That's fine Monday through Friday. Saturdays will probably be an issue. And then we'll just see what kind of interest is now as we raise more awareness about it. But we're flexible. We're flexible enough to change and do whatever's necessary to keep everybody's stuff safe but make it accessible to people. Nobody showing up, oh, I'm gonna do an hour garden before I run these errands, and it's locked. Now you gotta wait 15 minutes for staff to be there. Now I got a half an hour to do something that's supposed to be pleasurable. It's not supposed to be stressful. Gardening is the it's the number 2 leisure activity. Reading is number 1. Reading, and it's free. And gardening's free. And that's what we're trying, you know, in Parks and Recreation, we had to change the thinking of what people thought Parks and Recreation was. They thought we were just balls for kids and maybe swim lessons. We're really about, leisure is about how you spend your free time, whatever that is. And we really want to expose our community, especially communities of color. People of color used to work until the day they died. We did not experience anything called retirement. And this is the second generation and cohort of people who now have some leisure time and also have some resources. So we're trying to make things a little bit more equitable about, you know, relaxing and enjoying your years and contributing to the community. So that's why this is an initiative of ours this year. And again, it's new. You know, we may not be going in the right direction. I'm counting on people in this room to give us feedback as time goes on, and you know, and then you become champions and help us get out and bring people there. So, you know, we'll figure it out as we go. But this was the first step. This is just an introduction to community garden. And I thought we were just going to have one person. I'm just so excited. I really appreciate you all coming out. This is so exciting. Was there anything else we have? Just final things, because we're down to our half hour.
Just that Groundwork is here to support you. We're going to be doing the classes every month. There's a calendar for classes. Next month, we're going to learn how to seed, to start vegetables from seeds. So we'll get that going. Wait a minute. Sorry. February is planning the garden. So planning what kind of vegetables you want to have, and knowing that, you know, one tomato plant takes up 1 square foot in your garden, and you're going to have 27 feet to plant. So what do you plant where? That's what we're going to be going over next month. Thank you. March, we're going to start seeding. April, we start seeding. May, we're going to be planting. We can show you how to plant. June is good bug, bad bug. We're going to learn about the good bugs that have in the garden and the bad bugs, and how to identify them, and what destruction they do. You know, why did your zucchini squash bite the bullet? Because of that zucchini bug in there. The bad bug. August, we're going to start learning how to preserve your harvest in July. harvesting your fall crops and planting fall crops in August. September is the odd crops, like garlic. Garlic has a really weird growing season, but you can work it out in a community garden situation. And then winterizing, putting the garden to bed is the one for October. So we are here to support you, to hold your hand along the way, and hopefully we can get this gardens up, running out of time.
And lastly, we're also having some contests. We're not gonna be the big state fair, we'll be the little Plainfield fair, prettiest tomato, largest zucchini, those kinds of incentives that we can have, right, I agree, that we can have going on, and, we'll just go from there. So any ideas that you have, any suggestions you have to grow the school and to make this a positive, enjoyable experience for everyone, remember, this is part of the Division of Parks and Recreation Healthy Plainfield Initiative. I'll take a line from the wine saying, healthy mind, healthy body. And I think one of the things we learned during COVID is that the answer is always in the room. It doesn't take a lot of money. The wellness is important to preserve and to maintain, especially in communities of color. We have to learn how to do that. So this is one of the things, and it's intergenerational. While there are adults in the room, the kids are at school, you will see us come and bring the youth to get them connected to nature. Some kids don't know. You show them, I don't know, a cucumber. They think it comes off a tree because they've never seen it. Right, they've never seen it. So, that's one of our initiatives. We'll get there. We're gonna start the garden and we're gonna just grow gardeners. And we hope that you'll stay on this journey with us. And any help you can provide us, we greatly appreciate it. Again, thank you again for coming out. I'm Ronnie Taylor, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. I hope to see you at the next meeting. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna start taking. Yes, any questions? I hope you look, there always, whenever we have questions, we always feel like, right, I always find that people are nice to each other when they have a little bite to eat. We usually do some wraps from ShopRite. If you have any suggestions, Panera Bread. We do where's the other place that does the ham? The honey baked ham people. But if you have a local vendor you like us to try, let us know, because I want to bring food that people want to eat. If you have any dietary restrictions and or requirements, let Paul know. So if we need to add something to our menu,